IntuBoxing, in person.
In person.
Dean Whyte, thank you very much for joining us. Fight week's here. Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Usyk. Listen, people have been talking about Anthony Joshua coming back. Who's he going to fight? The Tyson Fury fight falls through. Here we are, Oleksandr Usyk, unified cruiserweight, unified heavyweight champions going at it. What an occasion.
Mega occasion. Yesterday, it was buzzing. The atmosphere was great. It was like old times, you know, with all the people in the arena, and it was good. It was really good. It was back to like the good old days before, pre-COVID. That's the words we'll use, pre-COVID. But you know, look, both of the athletes look good. Usyk looked really big, really strong. He seems to have put on a bit of weight, obviously because he's, you know, I think the main point for me, what stands out, is the Chisora fight, and I think he struggled in that fight quite a lot with the size and the sheer ferocity of Derek Chisora. But Derek Chisora is a one of a kind, you know what I mean? But I think in this element, it didn't make sense him putting on the weight because, you know, Joshua's they're different fighters, you know, different styles, different fighters. And in this notion, Joshua's lost a lot of weight and come in smaller. So there's a contrast there. So let's see how this all kind of pans out and the styles gel.
There was so much made in the build-up about how big does Oleksandr Usyk need to get. You know, this is, with all due respect, you know, you say Chisora is a bit of a one-off. Before that, it was Chaz Witherspoon. How do you prepare a cruiserweight like Oleksandr Usyk for a size test like Anthony Joshua? Were you surprised when you saw him yesterday? Was he as big as you thought he was going to be? Bigger, smaller?
Do you know, I pay attention to boxing anyway, so I've seen him over the coming weeks and months, obviously training and doing stuff. I didn't overly, you know, pay attention, but I just pay attention to anything that's going on in the sport, and I just download data and stuff like that. So I did see he looked somewhat bigger. He didn't seem as defined as he has in previous fights, but I think he knows Joshua's got that one-punch power, and obviously his neck seems to be extremely bigger, as Eddie kind of said yesterday. He said, yeah, look, his neck looked huge. So he knows there's possibility that, you know, Joshua's a big puncher, and obviously he's preparing that, you know, he's going to take some big shots potentially. But yeah, again, I feel like, you know, the styles may not gel as great, but then seeing something yesterday, he said the first round is going to be the deciding factor in terms of how you set out your stool when you go in. I did believe maybe it might be a bit cagey, but maybe he's going to show us something different. Maybe he's going to be an aggressor in the first round, or he might just, because he's prone to be a slow starter. That's what history has dictated with him. But I'm not sure, but he looks like he's grown into the heavyweight division a little bit more. That's what I'm seeing from him. He looks more solid. His neck, his chin, everything's looking a little bit more. And he's had a lot of time to do this the right way, not pile on pounds of weight, useless weight, which has slowed him down. And we've seen that in the Witherspoon fight. I wouldn't say so much in the Chisora fight, but I mean, in the Witherspoon fight, he hasn't looked the greatest at heavyweight. But come Saturday night, let's see what kind of Usyk turns up.
How do you transition? How do you move that much weight and keep the fluidity, keep the slickness, keep the ability to jab, move for 12 whole rounds against someone who's much bigger than you, natural at that weight? Surely at some point he's going to feel the effect of carrying that extra weight.
No, absolutely, 100%. That goes without a shadow of a doubt. But this is a special individual. This is a man at cruiserweight as an amateur, and he actually fought at heavyweight as an amateur, and he fought the likes of Joe Joyce and all the super elite, probably Savon and all those kind of guys, Yoko, Tony Yoko. There's so many more. There's an Italian geezer, I can't remember his name, but he's fought many big, solid guys. Obviously, it's different because the professional rankings, the pace is a little bit different, but I just feel this man's experience will put him in good stead in the ring, as it done as a professional, as he cleared out the whole of the division in the cruiserweight as a unified champ. But coming into the heavyweight division, it is a different kettle of fish because you've got monsters there, big monsters. Maybe they're not as skillful as Derek showed, but they've got sheer force and bruteness. And then coming in now, you've got Joshua, who's a tremendous athlete, who's a great specimen, a great ambassador for the sport and how he performs. Since he's lost to Andy Ruiz, his style's changed. So he's become more of a clean, clinical boxer. Likes to jab, step off, you know, throws a lot of jabs to the stomach, jabs and throws the right to the stomach, likes ties up well. If he can throw his uppercuts, he does that, but he's not giving much away. I feel like these guys, I'm not sure their style's going to gel because he's a southpaw, and this is a very, 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 very unique southpaw whose ring IQ is immense. So I think it's going to be a chess match, and it's going to be, could be a bit of a stalemate, you know, because they're going to cancel each other out with some of the stuff they do. But Joshua's only faced one southpaw, which was Charles Martin, and that's not on the same level as the gentleman we're talking about here today.
One thing that you can sometimes tell in a fight week build-up is the energy of the fighter. You know, what personality they bring into the table. Oleksandr Usyk, we see him juggling, you know, laughing, playing around. It is impossible to read this guy. If he is nervous, he ain't showing it, and Joshua's not learned an awful lot from what he's seen so far in fight week.
Yeah, but you know what? These boxers, they tend not to give a lot away, and that's the job. You know, when you're going in there, it's just a bit of a shakeout. You don't want to give too much away. You don't want to give away your game plan. And I don't think Oleksandr Usyk, this is what he does. He did this. He's done this in previous time, the juggling trick. Obviously, you know, eye coordination. He's letting his hands go a little bit here, as we can see. But I mean, he didn't really give nothing. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary. That's what I'd say. But Joshua's not got to worry about that. Joshua's the bigger, the stronger athlete. Obviously, he's a heavyweight champ. This is the, you know, undisputed cruiserweight champ meeting each other. He's coming up to his domain. So he just needs to set out his stall and understand whatever game plan he's got, he needs to kind of stick to it. Because one thing this guy's going to do, he's going to stick to his game plan. And whatever that is, and he's a very, very smart, and, you know, his calculations, he's not far off them. As you saw in the Bellew fight, that was an amazing fight. Tony Bellew's IQ is really, really high. He was giving him a little bit of a run for his money, but what he did, he pressured Tony Bellew and he had him on the back foot. And because he was fighting on the back foot, he kind of burned his gas tank out and then he stepped it up a little bit. But then with Joshua has had issues with stamina and gassing out. So maybe, I said there's a sneaky feeling that this guy is going to try and press the issue because he has got a decent tank. Remember, he's a smaller fighter coming up. So his gas tank's been tremendous as far as I've seen throughout his career. So that might be a style and that might be part of their game plan to make Joshua work, make Joshua think, and a mental battle and try and break him down so he becomes slower, fatigues, goes to his body and tries to break him down that way. But it's all to play on Saturday night.
He learned a lot, Usyk, from that Bellew fight. Maybe not necessarily style he'd not seen in the ring before. Bellew, like you say, very highly rated. However, for me, Usyk, the biggest learning Usyk has taken from that is the occasion. Mm-hmm. You know, the pressure that comes with fighting a fighter like Tony Bellew, the attention that fight generates. That is experience he'll take into this one. You talk about his toughest tests in the ring. You got to look at Maris Bradis in the Super Series. You know, he takes a split decision win against someone as highly rated as Maris Bradis. He's now in the heavyweight division, but for me, his biggest learning was the Tony Bellew fight, the pressure that comes with it. He's got to handle every camera, every movement being completely, constantly monitored. And that's something we've got to see Oleksandr Usyk maybe adapt to a little bit. Maybe we haven't had to see him do that in many other fights, except for that Bellew one. Somewhat. Look, but you know, he's fought on many a big occasion. As an Olympian, whatever, if he went to the World Games and all the stuff he won. He's fought on quite a few matchroom cards, which are quite big. But I don't think nothing as big as what Anthony Joshua brings to the table. Anthony Joshua, that circus there, the poster boy of heavyweight boxing, is something crazy. And then what we're going to have to is the occasion. You know, does the occasion get to him? Does the crowd booing him and, you know, chanting whatever, go home, or, you know, whatever, throwing stuff at him? Do you think they're going to boo him?
Yeah, hell yeah. You know, like, yeah, he's getting booed. Hopefully they'll throw a few sausage or oranges at him. I don't know, I'm just whining. But listen, you know, the UK fans, they get behind their fans. We've got the best fans in the world. And I think, you know, if he wins, obviously they'll applaud him, but, you know, they're going to boo him. They're going to try and get behind their man, and they're going to try and offset anything, make it a mental warfare and try to get into his brain. But I don't think that's going to do anything to this man. This man's seen it all. He's done it all. You know what I mean? There's nothing that's going to be in awe of. He in the Bellew fight, like you said, that was a big occasion. Tony Bellew's got a great fan base as well, and they was kind of onto him and doing things. And in the end, they were silenced very emphatically, convincingly, and yeah, it went very quiet.
Before we move on to Joshua, then which we will do in a minute. Final word on Usyk. If Usyk is to get the win on Saturday night, how does he do it? Does he have to outwork Joshua? Can he go for the knockout over 12 rounds? You tell me. What's he got to do to get his arm raised?
Do you know, this fight is, like I said, I think it's going to be quite a cagey fight because both guys have got great IQs and they know how to move. Joshua knows how to move very well. As we saw in the second Andy Ruiz fight, he moved extremely well for a big guy. I was very surprised that he moved for the whole duration, 12 rounds. But yet again, Andy Ruiz is not Usyk in terms of foot. Andy Ruiz has got fast hands, but he's got slow feet. Usyk's got fast hands and fast feet, good movement, and he's a southpaw. So, it's a whole different conundrum he's going to face. But I feel like Anthony Joshua, he's probably trying to slow the pace down. And I think I think it'll be little pot shots here and there. I think the jab's going to be key for both guys because obviously that's going to be able to set up whatever they need to set up, any traps. Joshua's got a really good jab. He looked loose and fluid yesterday in the workout. But I think this has got points all over it. I think if either man, fatigues to a point where they slow down and the person catches him, it's heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. But I've got a feeling this man's work rate probably might be a little bit higher than Joshua's. But yet again, Joshua's lost a lot of weight and he's lost a lot of muscle. So I've got a feeling his work rate can probably be a decent work rate. Listen, Joshua's at the pinnacle of the sport. The strength and conditioning, the doctors, the scientists, everything they've got in their team will be the best of the best of the best. When he fought Andy Ruiz the first time in New York, I heard the Zone made him a special bed designed for some crazy sleep effect, and it had some computer to, like how many hours he could sleep with oxygen in there. It was crazy. Still lost though. But anyway, just saying, they've got the best of everything.
Yeah.
I don't think that he didn't travel well though. That was the only thing I say. And I understand it's very important when you go abroad and traveling well and settling and being in different time zones. First he went to Miami, then he went to New York. There was a few things he made a mistake of. But coming back to this, I just feel like Joshua is not overlooking this guy. That's why he's probably coming. He's probably going to come in his lightest. What he's coming for a while. Because when we're used to seeing Joshua, big old bulky Joshua, Terminator, trying to crunch and wallop them out of there with his uppercuts and whatever he's throwing. But he's looking trim, he's looking lean, he's looking mean, he's looking fast.
Let's move on to Joshua because you were saying it before. He's changed his style a little bit. I think in the Kubrat Pulev fight, I think we saw a bit of both. Ruiz too, he had to do what he had to do. He had to get that job done. He had to stay away from Andy Ruiz, who he knew was dangerous. He knew that from the first fight. However, in the Pulev fight, for me, he fought like a guy who had a point to prove. He wanted to show that he could box and he could do what he had to. But at the same time, that ruthless streak was backing him. He had that bite, he had those teeth. He wanted to get that guy out there. No way was Pulev going to points. What Anthony Joshua or which Anthony Joshua shows up on Saturday? Does he try and box move? Or is this about proving he is the pinnacle, he is the best, by taking this guy out?
It's called boxing for a reason. I can't see him going out there making any rash decisions and bad decisions in trying to go in and take someone who's high level in the sport of boxing as Usyk, because you could walk onto something and get caught by something. So I wouldn't say, that wouldn't be a game plan. I'd think, I was speaking to both his coaches yesterday. They didn't give nothing away, by the way. I did.
You tried.
I tried to prise some information from them, but they weren't. And I said, but you guys have got enough knowledge. I'm sure you've got a great game plan. And they just smiled and said, we'll see Saturday night. So for me, I think jab is key. I think the man who starts the fastest in terms of being comfortable, being relaxed, gauges the distance, and starts to pick the shots and get openings is the man who might control the fight. Normally, Usyk's, like I said, his history dictates that he starts slow. But I don't think there's no room for him to start slow because he wants to download data. That's what Lomachenko does. That's what they both do. They go out there and what they do is they look and assess what you're going to do, how you jab, if it's a lazy jab, how your shoulder position is and what you do. And when they throw something back, how you turn and how you block if you parry. I think that's the kind of thing. And they want to probably assess his footwork. He might give the first round away, but we won't know until they go out there. But it's going to be a great fight. That's what I think in terms of for fans being in the arena and being back pre-COVID, everything. That's going to be great. But the actual fight itself, I think it might be a little bit of a chess match where they're high level IQs will cancel each other out.
Is there a potential concern for Joshua? And I say this meaning no disrespect to Oleksandr Usyk. Is there a potential concern for Joshua that this is a bit of a step down from the fight he thought he was going to be having? You know, we all thought Tyson Fury's happening. That's the big fight. It turns the whole world on. Everyone's looking at the UK. Biggest fight in British boxing history, possibly the biggest fight in boxing history. And it's not that fight. It's Oleksandr Usyk, who is still a magnificent test, but it's not the Fury fight. Is there a danger that he has to psych himself up that little bit more because he's maybe lost a bit of momentum?
Do you know what? I think Joshua is a professional. You know, that's you got to be a high level professional to block out certain stuff. Maybe in the beginning there was that thing because, you know, it was, you know, all that shit, you know, Tyson Fury likes to talk a lot of smack. So I think that kind of rubbed him up the wrong way, and I feel like he wanted to probably get that kind of fight, you know. But him being the professional he is, I think he will put that application and apply himself and black that out and say, you know, let me block this out because I've got to deal with someone who's very, very serious. And this guy is no mug. Like I've said, you know, obviously, you know, people who know boxing, if you're a hardcore fan, you know exactly what Usyk brings and what he does. You know, he's come to this shores a few times and snuffed in a couple of our guys, you get me? So, you know, let's not hopefully he makes that a hat-trick by snuffing in the big man. Obviously, they spoke about it. There's a rematch clause. That's something new that I found out yesterday. But I don't know, the big man here, looking on the screen, he looks loose. He looks elusive. His footwork looks nice. He looks really relaxed. His jab is nice. His uppercut, he's throwing, he's flowing. So I don't think he's underestimated him. I think he's fully put all his attention in, all his focus in, because he wouldn't come in the shape he comes in. You know what I mean?
Eddie Hearn gets quite a bit of stick for some of the things he says, and I think he quite enjoys.
He deserves it.
I think he quite enjoys some of it. But one thing he said that a lot of people gave him a bit of stick for online, but I think is probably a fair comment, is if AJ wins this and wins it well, do we put him in that pound for pound list? Because Usyk's in there. So if AJ beats him, you look at the resume, he's overcome Andy Ruiz, he's overcome Joseph Parker, he's overcome Dillian Whyte. If he wins this fight, is he in that conversation?
Well, do you know what? His record speaks for itself. So I think he's actually beat a lot of top contenders. So you'd want to think that he'd be in the pound for pound list. I don't know if I wouldn't have put Usyk in my pound for pound list, you know. But hey, I don't know. He is a hell of a fighter. But I think AJ, you know, look, listen, he's taken on all these mandatories. He's taken on all comers, and obviously he's got the one blemish there. But like you said, he's defeated a lot of people in the heavyweight division. But there's some great rematches there for him to do as well. But if he wins this, there is an argument that, you know, he goes up in the list and there is a conversation. But yeah, again, I feel like if the Tyson Fury fight comes and then he wins that, then there's no doubt that he's cleaned out everyone in the division in the heavyweight boxing. Then he should be in that kind of ranking. Very
quickly, we saw Anthony Joshua sign that deal yesterday with Matchroom for a career-long partnership or a lifetime partnership. Maybe that gives him peace of mind. You know, whatever happens on Saturday, Eddie's got his back. Matchroom is, you know, he's sorted, come what may. And I think as a sportsman and as an athlete, peace of mind is what you need. You know the saying about a happy fighter being a dangerous fighter. Does that give him a little bit more stability? Not that maybe he needed it, but at the end of the day, he is a human, and it's still there in the back of his head.
I think that's more for me where it is. I'm not sure if it's a crazy big deal. Maybe if it was looming, maybe you would want to get it out of the way because you don't want things to fester and other things to be on the table as it would be. But I feel like, listen, Joshua's like him and Canelo are like the guys in this division, you know, like the poster boys, as it were. I think for me, I don't know if it really mattered because he could literally just go anywhere and do what he wants. But Eddie made a good point. What fighter do you normally see that stays from their debut to the ending of their career with one promoter? It's unheard of. And that's good in the loyalty aspect and the belief that he knows Eddie's going to deliver. But yet again, Eddie's the best at what he does, and he's a hell of a promoter and he's a hell of a talker. He can convince you night is day and day is night. So, you know, great to Eddie and DAZN. They got the bag and they got the poster boy where, you know, people want to see. This is the money train. So it's good, you know, it's good what he's done, I guess.
So finally, then I think you've gone with an AJ points win.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're going for.
Boy, man.
Is it a
London boy.
complete shutout, a close?
No, I feel this is going to be a lot more closer than people think. Usyk, we can't. Listen, was it? No, it was someone else. That's another fight. I nearly lost my chain there. But now, a lot of people, you know, some people have him winning. And I'm not going to lie, if he did win, I wouldn't be like totally surprised because he has the skill set. You're fighting a southpaw. Let me tell you something. Again, you're fighting a southpaw. The job is double hard. If he was orthodox, I think I would say Anthony Joshua's got a chance of catching him and knocking him out a little bit easier. He's not going to be there to hit clean. He rides shots well. He moves well. He counters off certain stuff. And I was saying to these lot yesterday, I remember years ago, this guy in camp with Klitschko, and he was giving Klitschko all kind of nightmares. And remember, Klitschko's got similar stance, AJ's got now that similar Klitschko style, boxing, keeping it long, wrapping, tying up, and so on and so forth. So, you know, but saying that, AJ's a younger, strong, hungry guy as well. So they're both in their peak. And there's not much between them. I'm just going to go with the guy from UK, someone I know, someone I chat to. So, and I'm going to back the London kid. But by no means is it a foregone conclusion. This could go literally any way. You know what I mean? It's a real banana skin that could upset the apple cart and take the real bag off the table, which is the unification with Fury. You know, given that he gets past his fight and he gets past his, because none of that is a foregone conclusion that both guys get past their opponents. Deontay Wilder's on some little smoke, and he seems to say, obviously, the jacket, the drugs, the hat what he had on, all of that stuff affected him. Hopefully, he'll have none of those stuff. He's got a new coach, and we won't hear any more of his excuses. So let's see what happens. But there's mega fights as fans. There's 3 mega fights. You've got Joshua, you've got Fury, Wilder, and then you've got Dylan and Otto Wally in the space of a month. So I mean, as fans, you can't really ask more.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Saturday night is fight night. Anthony Joshua, Oleksandr Usyk. Dean, we'll see you next week.